Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. We thank you for everyone joining us. I just wanted to give a couple of housekeeping items to remind everyone. Everyone will be muted for the series of this webinar, but you will be sent the slides and a short survey as soon as the presentation is done, and the slides will be coming in a couple of days after. And then if you have any questions throughout, feel free to use the chat box and we'll wait to answer those at the end with Bob, and we'll take it from there. I'm going to do a quick introduction and we'll get started to roll. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Bob Mantell, the Director of Operations for TS Institute, who has served in the role since 2009. Bob is responsible for helping with the organization's programming and operations initiatives. Prior to joining TS Institute, Bob worked in procurement for ConAgra Foods, managed supply agreements and relationships with ConAgra's North America manufacturing facilities. Bob also had procurement roles at TD Ameritrade and other Lucent Technology and served as an operations manager with Iams Pet Food. Bob is a certified purchasing manager and has a bachelor's degree in economics from Creighton University. In addition to his role with TS Institute, Bob has served as the head baseball coach for Trainer High School since 2006 and lives in Trainer, Iowa with his wife, Kristen, sons Nolan, Grant, and daughter, Quinn. So with that, take it away, Bob.
Thank you, Kelsey. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks again for taking time to participate in our webinar today. We're hopeful that the information we provide will assist you in your classrooms as you begin to navigate the new standards in economics this upcoming school year, I should say, excuse me. Okay, what we're going to just preface our conversation by saying that all of the materials that we're going to reference today are going to be found through the Council on Economic Education's Econ EdLink resource. Econ EdLink is a resource repository that has literally thousands of lessons in financial literacy, personal finance, and economics. There's also information in Econ EdLink relative to civics, government, history, math, lots of different ways in which economics can be integrated into existing classrooms. There are resources that live in Econ EdLink that can help direct you to those and to those different disciplines. Okay, really quickly here, just want to show there's going to be a number of screenshots here throughout our presentation where I can provide you with some information so that you can get to Econ EdLink. If you see just www.econedlink.org, that's the landing page. If you notice at the top, it has the opportunity for you to browse by grade level. And also down in the middle, there are the different grade bands that you can click on. And as you click into those grade bands, it's going to offer you different options on the left-hand side of the screen based upon the selection of whatever discipline you're looking for. If you're looking for information on economics, then you can scroll down, click economics. If you're looking for specific sub-disciplines in economics, scarcity, opportunity cost, supply, demand, whatever the case might be, you can click on those and then it will identify for you those disciplines or those different topics within those grade bands. Again, a tremendous resource. Okay, the first economic standard we're going to talk about today, and there aren't very many at the 8th grade level, which is a good thing, I would think, is 8.15, evaluate how economic decisions affect the well-being of individuals, businesses, and society. Okay, so the key terms here are economic decision-making, economic decision-making. When you receive this slide presentation, you'll note that I'll have you note that all of these links are live. So you'll be able to click on this YouTube link listed on the slide, and it will take you to a specific video clip that speaks to economic decision-making. Now, I'll warn you in advance, some of the YouTube clips are more engaging than others. This particular one is probably more geared toward you as an educator, where there are others that would be very much kid-friendly, if you will. Okay, not that the students won't take something away from this one, but it's very much geared more toward you leading the classroom. There's just a quick snapshot of the YouTube clip itself. So it's going to speak to cost-benefit analysis. There's going to be language in the YouTube clip that speaks to explicit cost and benefit, i.e. money, like the trade of if you're buying something, trying to understand what the cost is of a good or service and what the perceived benefit will be for it. There's also language that speaks to implicit cost and benefit, so a little bit harder to quantify, a little bit more intangible, if you will. And then there's a good amount of language in the clip that speaks to opportunity costs. So, trying to understand that if you're purchasing A, you have to give up B, right? Whatever that next best alternative is what the opportunity cost will be by making this economic decision. Okay. There are a number of lesson plans in Econ Ed Link that speak specifically to this state standard. There are 3 specifically that I identified, 3 lesson plans that are listed on the slide that's currently being viewed. The one that I would say is most appropriate, or the one that really strikes a chord with me, is the bottom one that speaks to the opportunity cost of a lifetime. So in that lesson, students are directed to identify the different costs and trade-offs of making decisions. So if they were to buy a soda, what would they need to give up? If they were to buy a movie pass or movie, what would they need to give up? How many sodas? If they were to buy a soda, how many pieces of gum would they need to give up? Things of that nature. So very, very applicable for an 8th grade student to understand in terms he or she deal with on a daily basis. A great lesson to speak to really what opportunity cost is and how students can understand it. Here's a snapshot of the screen that I had mentioned where you could pull the lessons from. So if you look in right above the captions that speak to the lessons, you'll notice in fine print, I hope you can see it, it speaks to decision-making, cost-benefit analysis, and economics. So those were the 2 disciplines that I clicked on in the different options on the left-hand side of the screen. I clicked on those, I hit apply based upon grade band 6 through 8, and you'll notice that there are 28 different lesson plans that would be available to you that would speak specifically to economics and decision-making at a middle school grade level. So again, great opportunity for you to leverage these lessons to promote this standard in your classroom. The next standard is 8.16, analyze the role of innovation and entrepreneurship in institutions throughout early American history in a market economy. One thing to note here is as the 8th grade standards are very much tied into American history. And I'm not entirely certain if that was done purposely or not. My educated guess is that it was. But you'll notice this standard and the next standard we're going to speak to does have a direct tie into history class. Okay. A couple of key terms: innovation. We have a YouTube clip for that. Entrepreneurship and economic systems. So those are the three key terms here. And we've identified, again, well, here is another snapshot of a YouTube clip where we have identified economic systems. So this would be very much a YouTube clip where students could understand the difference between a market economy, a command economy, the differences between capitalism, socialism, communism, things of that nature. Okay. A couple of different, actually 3 different lessons that would be applicable for this standard. I would say that 2 of them are very much applicable lessons that your students could understand easily. The ice cream stand, It has a math component to it, but it speaks to getting students broken up into groups in class and having them work on creating a business, an ice cream stand. So they think entrepreneurially, they think about the market that they're trying to serve, all of the different facets that go into being an entrepreneur and understanding that it's a competitive marketplace. Okay. All in business would be very similar to the ice cream stand. Again, so it speaks to being innovative, creating a product or a service, going out on your own, creating your own business, thinking outside the box, if you will, which most entrepreneurs do, and also speaking to a market economy, which again is the world that we live in, and certainly one that your students will have a better understanding of as they participate in these lessons. 20 different lesson plans available that speak to economic systems, entrepreneurs, economics, and history. So again, you can very narrowly focus your search and still find a tremendous amount of resources that will help you meet this state standard. Okay. The last standard that we're going to speak about for 8th grade economics is 8.17, use historical evidence to evaluate the state of regional economies throughout early American history. Note that early American history theme, again, is consistent through these last two standards. So what we're talking about here is regional economies. Okay, and there's a YouTube clip for that. I'll admit to you, this YouTube clip is fairly dry, so this one is probably, again, more for the educator. I'm sure that there are some that live in YouTube land that would be more student friendly. I was not able to locate them, but if you can, feel free. A couple of different, again, 3 different lessons, excuse me, that speak in my mind in great detail to the concept of regional economies and really have a great tie into history. So the first one is the Civil War. And what the lesson speaks to is the different resources that the North and South had at their disposal during the time of the Civil War. And an argument is being made during the course of the lesson that the North won because they had superior resources and relative to their geography, the human resources, capital resources, the different things at their disposal. So that's a terrific lesson plan to consider using. And then the last one at the bottom, Lewis and Clark's barter with the Native Americans. So it speaks to the different resources that Lewis and Clark had available to them that they were able to trade with the Native folks. Speaks to different tools, different ways of, saws, hammers, things like that, and then the Native Americans would trade the things that they were familiar with at the time. So speaks to barter economies and resources in local geographies. 131 different lessons that are available in this type of arena here. So we're talking about civics, government, economics, geography, history. Again, a tremendous amount of resources for you to consider and use. And by the way, all of this material is absolutely free. So there's no cost to use this. Just dive in and kick the tires and find whatever you might want to use in your classroom, and feel free to use it as you wish. Okay. So those are the 3 standards that have been recently put in place for 8th grade economics. Not a tremendous amount of material. Well, there's a lot of material available to you, but luckily enough, the standards aren't overwhelming. There's 3 different standards. If you notice, again, the last 2 are very much tied into American history. But again, the resources that you would find in Econ EdLink would more than adequately provide you with whatever you might need to meet these standards in your classrooms. So with that said, Kelsey, I'll open it up to any questions that the group might have.
All right, sounds good. See if we have any come through the chat box here. Bob, I know you've done some eighth grade presentations, like actually more specific with junior achievement. Do you find that some of those have overlapped with these things you showed us today?
Junior achievement, especially at the middle school level, certainly speaks to entrepreneurship and innovation. Um, and there is some crossover into market economies as well. So yeah, I would say so. I would say that if any educators on the webinar either have used junior achievement or have considered working with somebody in your community on junior achievement, that there would absolutely be a tie-in there for sure.
Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, I think we'll wrap it up. There is going to be a survey sent after we close, and your name will be put in for a drawing for a gift card. So everyone that's on the attendees list today will be entered into that drawing. So be sure you fill that out, and we'll look forward to sending you the follow-up slides in the next couple of days. And again, thank you for joining. And thank you, Janet. All right, everyone have a great afternoon.